we will come directly to the subject at hand, which has fixated not just all of us here in Pakistan, but the entire world. Artificial intelligence in the realm of law, particularly with reference to adjudication. Should we rely on it? Should we use it? Should we cut and paste? Should the chair of the judge be replaced with a computer? And to what extent? There are varying thoughts over that. And when I say the rest of the world, I 2 weeks ago attended a conference in Malta where there were chief justices and judges of the Supreme Court of different Commonwealth countries, and some of them outright rejected the idea of the use of artificial intelligence for an adjudicator. They said no, there has to be an application of human mind, because it is the human mind and heart and eyes that will gauge the demeanor of a witness, will understand the case, will have human elements which are specific attributes and which do not exist in the world of computer, no matter how automated they become. But there were others, like me, who welcomed the idea of artificial intelligence. It is a step towards progression. I remember the time when we started our law practice, the research was done through the ALDs. It was extremely time consuming. From the time when the first publication came to the latest one. We would burn the midnight oil doing that. And I believe it was 20 or 21 years ago when Pakistan Law Site came, and we heaved a sigh of relief with that. But the Pakistan Law Site, even though it's by the PLD publications, leaves much to be desired as far as research is concerned. There are terrible mistakes in the text. So I will never cut and paste a certain portion or a paragraph in my judgment. I will have to have it proofread with the actual book. So this is a word of caution that we ought to bear in mind. There was a mention of head notes. It is extremely dangerous. I would endorse the earlier speaker's views. It's extremely dangerous to rely on head notes. They're not the judgment. And I would request all the judges over here that when they have to reproduce a portion of the judgment, please do not reproduce the head note. It's a practice that actually needs to be deprecated, and we through our member inspection team have informed all the judges of the district judiciary, at least in Islamabad, with a word of caution not to use the head notes but to use the actual text. Another question was asked as to what happens that if there is a detailed judgment of the High Court and that judgment is a reported judgment, and because it is now in the public domain, it is left to be cited. But through a judgment of the Supreme Court, which is not reported, and which could be a judgment with consent, for instance, that judgment is set aside. Does that reported judgment continue to be used as a precedent? Well, the answer to that is obviously not. But how does one know? You will now know that by going to the Supreme Court site, because it will tell you which of the judgments of the High Courts have been upheld or not. Obviously, lawyers for this purpose have to be a little more cautious. And more than lawyers, it is the judges who have to be cautious, because it is their judgment which will stand. So reliance on a reported judgment which has been set aside by an unreported order or a judgment of the Supreme Court will lead to a miscarriage of justice. So you have to be computer savvy, you have to be able to go onto the Supreme Court website to see as to whether the reported judgment, which will have details, of whether it's a civil revision, whether it's a writ petition, whether it's an appeal and their numbers, whether it is upheld or not. Now, what is the extent to which you can use artificial intelligence or technology in writing your judgments or carrying out research? Research, there is no prohibition, and the world is your boundary. You can use any law site for that. But incorporating any of the text in your judgment is a different matter. It's a serious matter. The judgment has your signature, which means that you are its author. It is your judgment. There is no harm if what you gather from artificial intelligence meets your mind, that this is indeed what I wanted to say in my judgment. By all means incorporate it. It will be perfect grammar. But most definitely do not replace your thinking mind with what the computer tells you. I'll give you an example. If you take a book of All England Law Reports or any of the English law reports, towards the end of the judgment, you will find mention of the fact that judgment as proposed by, and then there's a lawyer's name. That lawyer is one of the lawyers for the parties. So when the two contesting parties are arguing a case, when they close their arguments, they say, Your Honor, this is my proposed draft of the judgment. It's a fair judgment, but it's a judgment which shows that the case is decided in favor of the party that he represents. The other side also gives a proposed draft of the judgment. So the judge has two judgments before him. He may discard both of them. He may adopt one either in toto or partially, or use some areas of it. Same is the case with AI. AI will give you a text. It will give you a lot of material. You can discard it because it does not meet your mind. You can use a portion of it, or you can use it in toto. But as long as your mind does not abdicate the essential responsibility of adjudication, you ought to know what is written inside out. So for all of us who use the computer in our duties, some of us have it along with us when we are hearing a case. We open it, we open the law site, and we do a research right there just to contradict the law that no, sorry sir, this judgment has been upheld, or this is the latest law. I would encourage all of you to do that. There is no harm that when you are hearing a case, your laptop is next to you. When writing a judgment, whether it is West law or now the East law, whether it is Indian Qanun, whether it is Manupatra or our Pakistan law site, these are all very welcome developments and are aids and should only be treated as aids in you rendering a judgment and nothing more than that. Thank you, sir.